The kingdom of heaven shall be compared to 10 maidens who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with the lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. They both have the same situation. They're going out to meet the bridegroom, and the setting is a wedding in ancient times. They wait the coming of the bridegroom. They'll meet him with the lamps proceeding there. They're not sure when he's coming. They do not know the hour of his coming. They all are going out, and they all equally slumber and sleep. We're all part of this human condition, every one of us. But the difference is that 5 of them fought ahead. They realized that God put our heads in so prominent a place in our bodies that He wants us to use them. They thought ahead. They recognized what's needed for this enterprise. And the others did not. They just sort of drifted along. The expense is measured, the enterprise has begun. It is of God. It cannot fail. We need to have that attitude of thinking ahead. If I am really a servant of the Lord, what does that mean about what I do today? About how I relate to other people? I've got to think it through. What does the Lord tell us in the gospel? What does it mean to fill up the lamps and have a little extra just in case? We have to think of what the task requires. And the task that confronts each of us is maneuvering and navigating our way from birth to death on the journey to the heavenly kingdom. So what provisions do we need on the road? We need to be wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. And the tradition is all kinds of comments. The flasks of oil mean good deeds and following the gospel and all kinds of things, which is probably roughly what it means. All those different things that mean that you know what the task, the enterprise requires. For each of us to love God, love neighbor in practical ways every day with the people we meet, and not just somewhere off in a world of dreams. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. And as the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. We're all subject to that. It's an exhausting journey. But the difference was, 5 were ready for what the journey required, and 5 were not, as the lamps began to flicker out. So let's just maybe reflect a little bit in my own life. What are the ways in which I can fill the flask with oil in my own life? What way have I let the flask go dry in terms of what God expects of me in my particular vocation in this journey that lies ahead for the long term, and maybe let's say for the next year even the next day? What do I need in my life if I am to be a faithful servant and wise? Are there things that I have just let go? I would think even in our own life, the very gift of the sacraments, the Holy Eucharist, and the sacrament of reconciliation. These are great gifts that those who are wise take with them on the journey, so that they may be nourished and they may be forgiven. And yet, if we do without them, the Lord comes at a time we do not expect, an hour we do not know. And we can go for so long forgetting that we don't have what we need. Sort of like the Gimli glider, you know, that plane that kind of ran out of fuel halfway over Manitoba? Fortunately, there was an airstrip somewhere around, and it fortunately got down. Some good gliding got it down. But it's just not a good thing to run out of fuel if you're in an airplane. So what are the things in my life? Have I let the tanks grow empty of the things that keep me aloft? Do I think I can keep it up for long? For about 20 years now, I've been giving a lot of retreats for priests. And I think of the kind of the flasks that a priest needs, and by adaptation it can come, we can all sort of share in that. I often think of the image of like again, to get at the image of an airplane, you know, a big plane's got 4 engines, those big 747s, and it'll kind of fly with all the 4 engines. Even if one goes off, it'll still fly. And then if the second, the third, the 4th engine, it'll fly for a while until the gravity of the situation sort of becomes evident. And for priests, I think that is the 4 engines, the flasks full of oil, to use the image of our Lord. Our daily Mass, daily time and adoration before our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, daily divine office, and frequent confession. And I think all of us in different ways can think of the flasks that we need to keep well topped up. And those are 4 that are in one vocation in life, and they have certain adaptations. Certainly frequent confession, regular Mass, regular time of prayer. These are things that if we're wise, we keep filled up. But at midnight there came a cry, "Behold the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all those maidens rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise replied, "Perhaps there will not be enough for us and for you. Go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves."